Welcome back to Casual Evil, where we delve into the chilling stories that expose the darkest corners of human nature. Today, we bring you a tale that proves that truth can be more sinister than fiction. A narrative so intricate, so shocking, it begs the question, what drives a daughter to orchestrate the murder of her own mother? Stay tuned as we dive deep into the disturbing story of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. In the peaceful town of Springfield, Missouri, there lived a mother and daughter whose story would stun the world. Claudette Dee Dee Blanchard, a single mother, devoted her life to the care of her only child, Gypsy Rose, seemingly plagued by a string of debilitating illnesses. From the outside looking in, the Blanchard's life was a battlefield, where Gypsy, a small girl with a bright smile and twinkling eyes, was continually pitted against a seemingly never-ending array of health conditions. On the surface, Gypsy was a medical anomaly: leukemia, epilepsy, hearing and vision problems, paralysis from the waist down. The list was as long as it was heartbreaking. Dee Dee claimed her daughter had the mental capacity of a 7-year-old. This narrative of endless struggle won the hearts of many, from their neighbors to the local media to the national charities that caught wind of their story. The Blanchards were the face of resilience in the midst of endless hardship. Charitable organizations rallied to their cause. Trips to Disneyland, celebrity-filled galas, even a pink wheelchair-friendly house built by Habitat for Humanity, all granted to Gypsy, the brave little girl, and her tireless, selfless mother. Dee Dee was hailed as a paragon of motherhood, a woman who had relinquished her own life to the relentless task of caring for a severely ill child. But what if this tale of never-ending illness and unfaltering motherly love was a mere illusion, a carefully crafted narrative designed to deceive and manipulate? Hidden from the public eye was a horrifying reality, a psychological disorder less known but equally real: Munchausen syndrome by proxy, MSBP. MSBP is a mental health disorder where a caregiver fabricates or induces illness in a person under their care, often to gain sympathy, attention, or financial gain. It's a sinister dance of deceit and manipulation, with the caregiver using the ill person as a prop for their own performance. But how did Dee Dee manage to hoodwink not just friends, family, and good Samaritans, but also medical professionals? And perhaps most critically, when and how did Gypsy begin to uncover the horrifying extent of her mother deception? Who was Dee Dee Blanchard, and how did she manage to uphold this ruse for so long? Born in Chack Bay, Louisiana, Dee Dee's life prior to Gypsy's birth was marked by multiple minor run-ins with the law, instances of petty theft, forging checks, and credit card fraud. These early signs of a moral compass askew were overlooked or dismissed, with Dee Dee always finding a way to talk herself out of trouble. When Dee Dee became a mother, her propensity for dishonesty found a new horrifying outlet: Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Dee Dee's control over Gypsy was absolute. She controlled her education, lying about her age to keep her in grade school. She controlled her social interactions, limiting them to prevent outside influences from cracking their carefully constructed facade. She controlled her medical treatments, taking her to different hospitals and doctors, playing on their sympathy and weaving tales of woe that would justify the slew of medications and procedures Gypsy underwent. When suspicions arose, Dee Dee was quick to quash them. She had a knack for gaslighting. Anyone who dared to question Gypsy's illnesses was met with outrage, guilt trips, or outright denial. Medical professionals were not immune to Dee Dee's manipulative tactics. Despite multiple doctors voicing doubts about Gypsy's alleged conditions, many others were taken in by Dee Dee's acts. She would shop around for doctors, looking for those who would buy into her stories. She wasn't above falsifying medical records or moving to a new area when the heat got too much. Dee Dee's deception was a carefully orchestrated symphony, with every player unwittingly following her lead. As we move forward, we begin to see the turning point in this tragic tale, the moment Gypsy started to realize that she wasn't a patient, but a pawn in her mother's twisted game. As the old saying goes, truth will out. And in the curious case of the Blanchards, the truth was beginning to strain against the bonds of Dee Dee's elaborate deception. The catalyst for this shift was none other than Gypsy Rose herself, the innocent victim in her mother's cruel charade. Growing up, Gypsy's world was defined by her mother. Every illness, every symptom, every hospital visit was orchestrated by Dee Dee. But as Gypsy transitioned into her teenage years, small moments of clarity began to puncture this veil of lies. One of the first signs of Gypsy's growing awareness came in 2007. During a hospital visit, a neurologist by the name of Dr. Bernardo Flasterstein noticed discrepancies in Gypsy's medical history and her current condition. He found no physical evidence of the muscular dystrophy Dee Dee claimed was keeping Gypsy wheelchair-bound. When he voiced his suspicions to Dee Dee, she was quick to dismiss him, moving on to the next doctor willing to believe her stories. But this encounter left a seed of doubt in Gypsy's mind, a seed that would eventually grow into an insurmountable tree of truth. As Gypsy entered adolescence, she began to push the boundaries of her sheltered existence. She began to secretly use the internet when Dee Dee was asleep or out of the house. It was in these late-night clandestine sessions that Gypsy started to truly understand the extent of her mother's deception. During the secret internet escapades, Gypsy found something she had been starved of all her life: companionship. She stumbled upon fan forums, chat rooms, and social media, outlets that allowed her a taste of the outside world. It was through one of such platforms that she met Nicholas Godejohn, an encounter that would ultimately lead to a chilling climax in this horrifying saga. Nicholas, a man from Wisconsin, met Gypsy on a Christian dating website in 2012. Their relationship started as an online friendship, an escape from the confines of Gypsy's controlled reality. As their bond deepened, Gypsy began to share the truth about her life with Nicholas. Nicholas, though dealing with his own challenges, including a criminal record and a diagnosis of autism, became a beacon of hope for Gypsy, a promise of a life beyond her mother's suffocating control. Their online exchanges, initially innocuous, slowly began to take a darker turn. In 2015, Dee Dee and Gypsy attended a screening of the live-action Cinderella movie. It was here, in the midst of his fairy tale setting, that Gypsy and Nicholas planned their face-to-face meeting. This encounter, unbeknownst to Dee Dee, marked a critical juncture in the Blanchard narrative. As Gypsy's bond with Nicholas grew stronger, so did her resolve to escape her mother's clutches. Their plans to be together, however, were fraught with challenges. There was no way Dee Dee would let Gypsy go willingly. As a solution, they began to contemplate the unthinkable: murdering Dee Dee. Now, it's crucial to understand the level of desperation and despair that drove Gypsy to consider such an extreme course of action. After years of being lied to, manipulated, and controlled, Gypsy saw no other way out. Her mindset was a testament to the extensive psychological damage inflicted by her mother's deception. So, the plotting began. Over text and online messages, Gypsy and Nicholas laid out their plan. The correspondence, later used as evidence in court, illustrated a chilling determination to end Dee Dee's life. On June 14, 2015, the plan was set into motion. While Dee Dee slept, Nicholas, armed with a knife supplied by Gypsy, stabbed her 17 times, ending the life of the woman who had controlled Gypsy's every move. In the wake of Dee Dee's gruesome murder, a wave of shock and horror rippled through the town of Springfield and beyond. Dee Dee, a woman once hailed as selfless, tireless caregiver, was not the victim of a heinous crime, while Gypsy, the chronically ill girl in a wheelchair, was nowhere to be found. The narrative took a shocking turn when a disturbing post appeared on Dee Dee's and Gypsy's shared Facebook page, hinting at the vile act that had taken place. Friends and neighbors were stunned. As the police launched a manhunt, a chilling truth began to emerge. The frail, wheelchair-bound Gypsy was not as she seemed. Just days after Dee Dee's murder, Gypsy and Nicholas were traced to his home in Wisconsin. But what shocked the world wasn't just their arrest. It was the sight of Gypsy, the supposedly paralyzed girl, walking freely. The facade had shattered, unveiling a story of manipulation, deceit, and control that no one could have imagined. The trial that ensued was a spectacle that gripped the nation. The prosecution painted Gypsy as a cold, calculating murderer who manipulated her boyfriend into killing her mother. But as the defense peeled back the layers of Dee Dee's deceit, a complex narrative unfolded, one that spoke volumes about the psychological abuse Gypsy had endured. Medical records, testimonies, and Gypsy's own account revealed the horrifying extent of Dee Dee's Munchausen syndrome by proxy. The prosecution's narrative began to waver, and sympathy for Gypsy mounted. Had you punished a victim-turned-perpetrator, a girl who'd spent her life trapped in a web of lies, only to escape through an act of violence? Gypsy Rose Blanchard accepted a plea bargain for second-degree murder and was sentenced to 10 years in prison on July 5, 2016. Nicholas Godejohn, the more directly responsible for Dee Dee's death, was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison on February 22, 2019. The aftermath of this shocking case forced us to grapple with complex questions about manipulation, abuse, and the consequences of a life built on lies. Gypsy Stories is a tragic testament to the human capacity for deception and the length to which some will go to maintain control. As we wrap up our exploration of the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case, we're left with a haunting narrative that underscores the devastating effects of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. It's a chilling reminder of how appearances can be deceiving and how even the most seemingly selfless acts of love can mask a horrifying reality. In the face of such tragedy, we are reminded to look beyond the surface and question the stories we're told, because behind the facade of selfless motherhood and a brave, battling daughter was a truth far more sinister, a truth that cost Dee Dee her life and Gypsy her freedom. Join us next time on Casual Evil as we continue to explore the depth of human nature and the seemingly ordinary individuals who are capable of committing the unimaginable. Thank you for joining us on this chilling journey. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more true crime stories that reveal the dark side of human nature. Until next time, stay safe and keep seeking the truth.